Well, it starts in 1920s. My grandmother's family, the Hendersons, moved out from Indiana to Los Angeles and lived in various places, but mostly they settled on Bunker Hill. As I said, my grandmother was a remarkable woman. She somehow decided, I'm going to go into these properties and meet the owners, and I'm going to lease the property. And so she ended up with 60 units as a landlady. She was able to get enough money that she could acquire the castle. When we came back from the war, we lived at 310 South Bunker Hill Avenue, which is across and down the street a little ways toward 3rd Street. When she died, my father inherited properties, and so he became the landlord. If you know your Bunker Hill, you know the castle. People now ask me, was it haunted? Because, I mean, it's a Victorian building. Aren't they all haunted? No, it wasn't haunted. It was not haunted. I tell people that coming back to it, I felt like I was in its benevolent embrace. This place has real meaning for me. I can still remember the sound of your footsteps going across the porch and the sound of the door as you opened it and then closed and it would rattle. They were beautiful stained glass doors. When my grandmother died, a woman named Ollie Hart became our on-site manager, and that's her with me out in front of the castle. And she stayed on. She was a wonderful lady. She was my friend. I miss her to this day. Those front steps are the original front steps. They're wooden. They got kind of rickety, and my father and I, when I was a little kid, built those brick steps. And as I said, when we came back from the war, we lived in that unit up there, and that window, I'm looking out that window, and I'm looking across the street, and that's the Foss Heindel house. This appears in innumerable noir movies of the 40s and 50s. It's in the remake of the movie M. And I remember telling my dad, why don't they paint that place? Because the paint's all gone. It's just bare wood. And then I realized if it would be like a character actor having a facelift and they'd never work again in Hollywood. When we came back from World War II, and when I was a little kid living up there, it was a community of residents who lived their lives, who went shopping locally, who went downtown to work and to shop on Angel's Flight. There's no denying that there was some crime up on Bunker Hill, but in those days, before redevelopment, it was just people living their lives in a very convenient neighborhood. That's the intersection of 3rd and Grand. And this is the southeast corner, and that's the Angel Slice Pharmacy that was on that corner. My father got a job delivering prescriptions when he was a kid. And there is a newsstand right there, the newsstand guy. He's got one arm, and guys would come and sit with him and talk about things. There are newsstands all over the place because we had how many newspapers did we have in those days? Just down the street from Angel's Flight Pharmacy is the Budget Basket Market. And that's where everybody went to buy their groceries if they didn't go down to Grand Central Market. My mother when I was maybe 2 years old, took me into the budget basket market. And I don't have a clear recollection of exactly how this happened, but I do remember the feeling that I had. I like to stop, she told me, and look at things. So she went around the aisle where she could see me, but I couldn't see her. I'm looking at stuff. And all of a sudden I realized I'm here all by myself. And what she told me I did was I ran out, because I knew where I lived. I ran out of the store and I ran down to the corner of 3rd and Grand waiting to cross the street. And that's where she caught up with me. This is South Bunker Hill Avenue. It was a completely residential street. It was not a big thoroughfare. There weren't cars running up and down the street all the time. What you saw were people out walking on the street. You have to remember too that when I lived there, most of the residents, our tenant, were elderly. Not all of them. Some of them were younger people that worked downtown. So when I came from Angels downtown on Angels Flight and walked up 3rd Street past the Angels Flight Pharmacy and up the hill to South Bunker Hill Avenue, those guys were always sitting there, talking to each other, reading the paper, feeding the pigeons, and talking to passersby.